What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hope you're doing well, and of course I hope you've had a fantastic trading week. So today I'm going to share a clip with you from a live Q&A session where a member asked me, Rox, how comes my live trading results do not reflect the backtesting results? And this is a common question that I get asked from members and traders, why they cannot emulate the same patterns that they emulated or they achieved in their backtesting in live market conditions. And I think that some of the tips and suggestions that are provided in this video today will really help to get you comfortable in live market conditions, to help you change the way you think about them and see things from a different angle. This will definitely help you to become more consistent and profitable in the live markets. So I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, hit that thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel, please think about subscribing. Turn on notifications for when I next post our videos. And I'd also like to see some comments below. Let me know what you think. But as I always say, until next time, continue to trust the process.
A month and a half ago, I finished the 100 trade challenge and stuff, and it was obviously due to be reviewed in December, but Rox was unwell. So, I finished that challenge and I felt pretty confident, and I jumped into the live market starting New Year. And I think my main question is not to do with the strategy, because I feel like, trust the plan quite a fair bit. And my main issue, I think, is to do with psychology, because when I look at my equity curve, when I started live trading, right, it went down about 5.5%, almost 6%. So I kind of wanted more like psychological advice over this as to how to avoid such a thing. And I've come to a sort of my own conclusion, which is that if I take, for example, my first trade in the day is profitable, I get like 1 hour, I'm done with trading for the day. I've kind of come to that conclusion, but I still kind of need that. What do you guys recommend in that sense? Because obviously, since I'm new, ending the day on a loss is for a person who isn't, as mentally strong as one would like to be in the field of trading. I think it kind of gets to you. So I just needed some advice on that.
Sure. Let me ask you, what do you think you need to do in order to rectify those kind of thought processes that's making you feel the way that you feel?
I think what I need to do is just, I kind of have to force my mind to just let it be. If I, take 3 losses in a day or something, that's my daily limit. But, I feel I kind of just have to stop and just leave the charts and just take a day off and give myself a break. I think that's kind of what it is, but it's easier said than done is what I feel.
All right. But if you want results, what have you got to do?
You got to do what you got to do. You're right. Yeah.
You got to do it. And you see how we can just take all the questions you ask, put it onto you, and you naturally know the answer. Okay. Now, can I just ask, you're doing the 100 trade challenge, did you say?
Yeah, I finished that, and then I've moved on to the live charts.
Okay, fine. How was your 100 trade challenge?
It was actually, I think that's kind of where my entire psychological issue, like I said, comes up, is because my 100 trade challenge, it was actually surprisingly well, I would say. I got close to 90 R after my 100 trades, and I was doing the 15-minute, 1-minute thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was actually pretty confident. But, as I started out, first week of January, my first 3-4 days, it was just drawdown after drawdown. So it kind of got to me. And,
why do you think your results changed from going from the 100 trade challenge to live markets?
This is, again, something, I to be very honest with you, as a noob, I don't really have much of an idea of.
No, but be honest to yourself, not to me. Mm-hmm. What would be the answer? One thing you can isolate that you can identify as being the reason why, possible reason why you're not getting the same results as you was backtesting.
See, one of the things that I kind of noticed is that I should not be in more than one trade at once.
No. One behavior pattern from you that you believe could be the cause of the reason why your results are not the same as your backtesting. I don't want to know anything about where you place your stop loss, how you enter your trades, anything else, because it's never that.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. One ultimate reason why your results differ in the live markets from when you was backtesting.
I to be very honest with you, Rox, like, I genuinely don't really have an idea, probably.
Okay. Let me ask you, what hobbies do you have?
What hobbies do I have? I game sometimes.
Yeah.
I gym, I game, and I write sometimes. That's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. Let me ask you something. As a writer, do you ever suffer from writer's block?
Yeah.
Okay. And during that time, what do you tend to do so that you can regain your thoughts and get back on track with your writing?
I just leave it be for some time, and either go for a stroll or read another book. That's basically what I do, and get some ideas as to what could be some things I could write about. Yeah.
Fine. And you've learned over time that by doing that process, you'll be able to come back, continue writing, and probably come back with some of your best ideas, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. And that's just been gained through experience. Some people start writing and they just can't believe that they can't think of what the next sentence or paragraph could be. Even sometimes the next word happens to me as well, right? And I'm not a full-time writer, but I do write a lot. Now, how have I learned to cope with that? Well, I've learned to cope with that because one, I experienced it hundreds and thousands of times now, and I know that it's just a thing that happens as a writer. Sometimes you just have to walk away, clear your mind, come back the next day and start again. And even sometimes when you come back and you reread what you've written before, you realize that probably half of it is and you just need to rewrite it again. Okay. Right. Now, as a trader, when you backtesting in a backtested environment, there's a few elements that are missing from there, which is you have no real attachment to the outcome of your trades. One of the number one reasons for that is because you're able just to click next bar as fast as you want.
Exactly.
So now if you was in these GJ buys, you wouldn't have to deal with the emotional consequences of seeing price breaking above this structure, failing, creating wick projections here. You will be like, okay, fine. In the backtested market, when you're in a backtested environment, you'd be like, okay, fine, it's rejected, but I still have a safe stop loss, time to press next bar. And before you know it, price will end up here. Okay. So what is missing? What am I trying to highlight here? What is missing when you're in the backtesting environment?
I think emotion is missing.
100%. Now, if emotion is missing in the backtesting environment, what starts to play a factor when you now go into the live markets?
I think that when you're backtesting, you kind of get mechanical with your process, and it's just that I see a pattern on the lower time frame, enter, and stuff like that. So I think in that sense, that like you rightly said, I think emotion is definitely the big factor, and that's why I felt my main questions here are mostly psychological in nature. And
but you're still missing one word that I think you're afraid to say.
I don't know. Is it fear, patience, discipline?
Yeah, definitely fear.
Okay.
But if we just wrap that up and consolidate into one word, it's simply the emotional effect. I wouldn't call it psychological, not yet psychological, because for you to have psychological effects, you have to be triggered emotionally first, right? So once you get triggered emotionally, then that would then start to trigger the psychological effects, because then you start to create scenarios, doubts, you start to fear, you start to question your behaviors, your actions, whether you're doing the right thing, whether it was a good trade, etc., etc. But in the simulated environment, you don't do none of that, because it's so easy just to press the next bar and fix and correct when you have taken a loss or 3 or 4 losses in a row. You do realize that after 3 losses in the backtested environment, you can take another trade and you can hold that trade for 5 hours, and now you're back in profit, so you don't care anymore. Now, this is the problem coming from simulated environment, is that people come into the live market expecting it to be almost identical. And I think that's one of the first things that you have to get into the back of your mind and accept, is that when you're doing the backtesting in the simulated environments, it has nothing to do with how you're going to action your behaviors in the live market. The only reason
Okay.
you're doing the back tested and simulated environment is so that you can focus on pattern recognition.
Mm.
That is it. So now when you think about that, most people in the back test environment are thinking, okay, look at these results. I've just got 90 off 100 trades. I've got a 57% win rate. Break and retest is my best pattern. Oh my goodness, I'm going to be able to come into the live markets, absolutely smash it out and or do the challenges. As long as I just do what I've been doing, everything's going to be all right. But that is an absolutely crushing thought process, because it's not going to be the case. Once you come out of the back tested simulated environment, what you then need to be doing when you come into the live markets is now start practicing and building the other elements that you need to become a consistent trader in the live markets, which is dealing with time management, dealing with the fact that you might now be 30 pips up on GJ from this bottom and you're holding for 40 pips, but now it's starting to retrace. The emotional and psychological effects of seeing the candles move. That's why they talk about set and forget, so that you don't have to deal with this up and down X, Y, and Z. Then you've got to deal with the monetary aspect of things, seeing that I've just taken a trade. Now I'm down X amount of money. Oh, now I'm up X amount of money. How do I deal with this situation? You've also got to deal with taking losses, and losses when you're trading in live market are very, very long, because you take a loss. Your plan says you take 1 or 2 trades a day, and you might be sitting there for 3 hours before you take the trade. You take it and you get stopped out within 15 minutes. Now you just feel like you've wasted your whole day. Everything that you've worked so hard at through your back testing and your patience leading up to that entry has now just been wasted. And you just feel like an absolute failure.
Mm.
Now, this is all natural feelings, and it's not something that's ever going to go away. What will happen over time is you will learn to deal with it and manage it. And just like when you have that writer's block, you've learned to manage those situations by not forcing yourself to sit there and doing tons of research, searching on Google and YouTube and whatever else to find the answers. You now know that the best thing for you to do, as you've mentioned, is to walk away, take a walk, or come back the next day. Now, as a trader, that is something you're going to have to learn to develop.
Mm.
And that means you're only going to be able to develop it by doing it. And how are you going to do it? By experiencing the lows and the highs. And it's do you understand?
Yep.
So there's no way to hide from it. There's no way to avoid it. It's going to happen. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to question your ability as a writer just because you constantly have writer's block every other day. You know that you're a writer and a good writer to your standards, or even to somebody else's standards. You're a good writer in your own eyes. You're not going to let that be the doubt that stops you from continuing writing, because it has happened to you, unfortunately, on a recurring occurrence in the month of January. And just like losing trades, just because you've come from back testing, you've had a few trades, that shouldn't allow you to doubt your ability to trade from a technical perspective. Because the whole time you've invested in back testing, you have proved to yourself that you understand your strategy, you understand your concept, and what you should accept is and understand is that over time, your results will start to balance out.
Exactly.
Now, all you've got to do is learn to be resilient to the immediate outcomes and continue to repeat the process that you did during your back testing by managing the emotions and psychological barriers that you will face for the rest of your life as a trader.
Mm.
It will never go away. Look at Payam. He's a mentor. He's a phenomenal mentor. He's a phenomenal trader. He jumped on the call, and guess what he said? Oh, this has just messed me up. My head's all over the place. It happens.
Okay.
All this robotic shit, remove emotions, is bollocks. It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. Do you understand me? Ever, ever. So now what you have to be doing, bro, is you have to accept the reality of trading first in your heart. Make peace with the fact that you will lose a lot of trades over the next 5, 10, 20 years as a trader. And you may be a trader that only has a 20 or 30% win rate. But what you should know is that you have the power and the ability to be a very successful trader within yourself, as long as you learn to manage your emotions and your mindset, and you stick to your plan and you continue to repeat the process over and over again without deviating, no matter how many losses you take in a row.
Yep.
Once you can accept that, you can now be at peace with yourself, because you no longer judge yourself as a trader, and you no longer allow your immediate results to be a reflection of what you potentially want to become in the next 3, 6, and 12 months. And if you make a plan to do that every month for 20 days, each month, without failure, in the next 3 months, you will grow to be an absolute phenomenal trader. And you'll start to be able to see things clearly, because the more you allow emotions to play a part in your trading, in your life, in your going to sleep at night, waking up in the morning early, doubting yourself, the longer you stay blinded to what your future could look like. And I mean that. This is not motivational shit. This is for true. Because you don't allow yourself to have room to think, to analyze things properly, to evaluate situations, to make plans, how to deal with certain situations, because you're constantly being controlled by emotions or allowing your emotions to control you. So for yourself and for everybody else listening, make peace with yourself. Just accept it is what it is. Now, there's other factors you can consider now, which is, how do I eliminate the anxiety when I'm in trades? Well, first and the most simplest answer is decrease your risk. You can't have your cake and eat it. Do you understand? Which means if you want to make a lot of money, you've got to risk money. But if you fear losing that money, then you can't risk a lot of money. And you have to accept the reality that you have to risk less for less. That is just the way the cookie crumbles. But what I will say in the initial stages coming from backtesting into live markets is to risk minimal, to get comfortable with the time management, because that's probably the number one thing that fails most traders. The fact that you might again be 40 pips up in this trade and you've put this to break even and you will get stopped out. Now, you've only put hard rules in place in your plan to say I'm taking 1 trade a day because you want to make sure you're minimizing risk and you actually fully comprehend and understand the numbers game. But if you start to deviate from that plan, then that's when things are going to go wrong. But if you know that the plan is put in place based on genuine data, and you know that over X amount of time, because you put a good plan in place for 20 days, 40 days, and 60 days, you know that it's okay to take that loss and walk away no matter how badly it hurts. And that is why you don't want to make anything your main focus. Anything in life is damaging. Smoking is bad. Drinking is bad. Drinking water, too much water, is bad for you. Do you understand? So you have to make sure that you know what your boundaries are, bro. Risk less, risk as much as you are now. I don't care what you're doing. You just have to accept the reality of what it is, and you just need to keep on going. And what you need to do now is put up a chart, a calendar, and you need to have 20 boxes, 20 circles, whatever it may be. And you need to make a commitment to yourself that for the next 20 days, all you're going to do is follow your plan. And anytime you have those emotions or psychological barriers, or anytime you have the urge to do something stupid that you know you shouldn't be doing, just as you do as a writer, you have to get up and you have to walk away. Now, there's so much power in this, because the more you follow your plan and do things the right way, the more confident you will become, not only as a trader, but as a person. You'll feel great in yourself because you're doing things you know you should be doing. Naturally, fear and emotions will be removed because you have zero doubt that anything bad can go wrong, because you know how to mitigate it. And there's just so many other things that I will talk about this next week, Thursday, but there are so many things that you will benefit from by doing this. You don't believe that. Most traders don't believe that right now, because guess what? They think the only way to fix it is by executing and getting out of the red into break even or profits. But how many times have we taken trades and we found ourselves in a position where we've lost 1 or 2 trades in a row? We know that we've made peace with losing 1 or 2 trades in a row from the night before or from past experiences. And we know at that point we should walk away, only to then go on to lose another 2 more trades. And then guess what? We're pleading to God that we get that back. And you know what we're pleading for? That we just get back to break even. The minute you get back to break even, what happens? That pleading to God just become irrelevant, and you start trading again. And when you lose 2 more, what do you beg that you could go back to? I wish I could just go back to break even again. And you see how your mind can play tricks with you, because you think that by being at break even or slightly in the green means that you're moving one step closer towards your desired dreams or goals or whatever it is you may be. But that's not true. It's actually reverse in trading. The more you can mitigate risk, follow your plan, the more likely you are to succeed as a trader. It's crazy. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Because naturally over time, which is something we don't understand, and this is just the law of gambling, and I'm not saying you're a gambler, but I'm just saying this is just the law of playing with money, that it, just like a casino, you've never seen one shut down. They just allow people to come in and out. They don't know when they're going to make their money, but at the end of the year, they just know that they're going to be around 3 to 5 million in profit, hypothetically speaking. And it doesn't matter if they're £500,000 down in June, they just know by the end of the year it will happen, as long as they have this footfall in place. That's why they have pretty women on the floor. That's why they give you free drinks and offer you free sandwiches. Because the longer you can stay there, they know the likelihood of you making money, them making money. But as a trader, for us, the more we're able to show up, take our trades and leave, as long as we come back and follow that plan that we know 100% is data driven, you will make money, because we play what we call the risk reward ratio game. So you're only ever going to lose one, but you're always going to gain 3 based on probabilities that your winning setup will play out 67% of the time. If you have 3 winning patterns, let's average them out. That makes you a 47% winning trade. With a risk reward ratio of 1 to 3, you'll be a millionaire in no time. As long as you can remove emotions and deal with those psychological barriers.